And we are recording.
And streaming. We're recording and we're streaming. He's great. Um, Monday, May 13th, 2024, at 12:11 p.m. Eastern time. Um, I'm gonna start posting the live link while why am I explaining it to y'all? What do I care? I normally do that to explain to a guest. Um, doing a solo while I'm posting the live link right now, so it's gonna take a minute. But whenever I have an idea, kind of, I don't know, percolating upstairs in the old head, I try to find a guest to talk about it. And if I A can't find a guest, or B I do find a guest, but it's not what I wanted it to be, I'll do a solo rant. And for any of the new listeners, solo rants are incredibly unpolished. They're truly off the top of my head. And it's me talking out loud. It's like when you're in a car driving. I think everyone's done this when you're just, you know, vocalizing thoughts. You're just talking out loud, and what do I have to do when I get home? I got to do this, I got to move, or I got to go, got to go pick up the dog, and then after that, I'm gonna do blah 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 blah. That's kind of what a solo rant is. And I just happen to be recording it. So anyone that doesn't like that it's not polished, that's the I guess I could do it. I could like polish it and then upload it, but that's not fun. The whole kind of point of the solo rant is it's also like an exercise in humility. You're talking through an idea. Um and they're never clean. It's just it's a thesis that hasn't it's a rough draft. And I never go back and clean it up. And I don't really want to, and I don't really have any care to, so I won't. Um but as I'm continuing to post the live link right now, so the idea not idea, but it's something I've read about, and it's called nuclear semiotics. And it seems like a pretty interesting thing. And it's essentially how to communicate long term, not in, oh, well, you would take it off a computer and you'd write it down, or like, no, you don't want to write it down, you want to carve it in stone. It's like even longer than that. You're reaching out to a potential future version of your civilization that's either wiped itself out or been wiped out by a cataclysm, or for whatever reason is is just not in touch with your time. And so what that is from my understanding, the idea of nuclear semiotics is like how do you for something it's for something like not something like it is for nuclear waste. From my understanding, it's for nuclear waste. And it's not the same as, let's say, like you don't need to put any warning. You don't need to put any warning on a cliff. A cliff is just a cliff, right? Animals, people alike look at it and stop, right? You don't want to walk off the cliff, right? I mean, a dog knows that, a cat knows that. They stop. It's just baked into the very core of, I guess, your reptilian brain. And so you don't need a problem with that. Fire, right? You back off. It's hot. Ice, snow, you go try to find shelter. There's just general things that are baked in. Even what's that? What was that? There was an experiment forever ago where they took like mice whose main uh I guess predator was the hawk or the crow or whatever, and they would take the mice and then they put it in like a I guess like a, I don't know, like a green room or something, like a just kind of a faux environment. Had everything the mice needs, blah blah blah. And then the mice had children, and then the children had children. And obviously the older generation started dying off. And it went on for I don't know what, like a year. And they did like 20 generations to the point where no mice that were alive at the beginning of it that came from the outside were still alive, and no mice that knew them were alive. So it would be like, I know my parents, I was born in 1990, but my parents can tell me about the 60s, 70s, 80s. My grandparents were born in the 20s. They could tell me about the 30s, 40s, 50s. My great grandmother was born, I think, in 1902, and I think she died when I was like 7. So I don't really have a whole lot of recollection of her. But in theory, you could say I have direct relation to 1902. I didn't know my great grandmother's parents. They were dead long before I was born. So that's kind of the stopping point. So you could say, you know, we want to do a test, you know, of humans after 1902. Okay, well, you'd say once the great grandmother dies, then we can do the test. Well, no, that's not true. I'm still alive, and I knew her. Um, and so you'd extrapolate it to the end of my life. So I was born in 1990. Let's say I'm lucky I hit 80. Say I died 2070. That's when you would say, I guess, I don't know, the palate had been cleansed. The slate had been wiped clear. Now, if I had kids, you would say, well, the kids knew Tommy, and Tommy knew that. No, correct, but it's not direct, right? So there's a sort of a wall, like a temporal event horizon in the rearview mirror. And so I think what they did, like with the hawks or the mice or whatever it was, is they did that, and then it was just like multiple times. So imagine not just 1902. Imagine if you went back to like 1502. It was just so no one knew anyone that knew anyone that knew anyone that knew anyone, blah blah blah. And then it's the whole thing is epigenetics. So then they get to this generation, n equals 70, whatever generation it was, and then they never having left this enclosure. And then they flew like cutouts of hawks, the silhouette, same noise, put like a little electronic thing on it that made the noise. And same relative size at the same relative height it would hunt them at. So I don't know. There's like I don't know where they did this. It was like maybe it was like a football stadium or some shit. I have no idea. Um and they found out that what's it called? Where am I? I don't need to post it. No, I need my notebook. They found out that the hawks, or not the hawks, the mice would still run away, having no interaction with the hawks ever before in their lives, having never seen one before, and having no interaction with anyone that was alive, no great grandmother, to tell them about them. And the hawks, and when it wasn't that, it was, well, it's like, well, what, did you release hawks and they started eating them? Well, of course they're going to freak out. No, 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 no. The hawks weren't real. They're just silhouettes, nothing more. The mice, upon first seeing it, would dart to cover, right? So the point of me saying all that is even things. So on the most basic level, you have like, fire, stay away. A cliff, stay away. Cold, you got to go find shelter. Winter's coming. These are all these kind of basic things: sexual attraction, food sources, right? And then you can say one step further. Excuse me. Nuclear semiotics. Come on. So, right. Fire, stay away. Cliff, stay away. Loud noise, jump and hide, right? Storm coming, find shelter. Cold, find food. Blah, blah, blah. Cliffs, stay away. Predators, stay away. And then even with this epigenetic example, they still knew something in the back of their mind was like, get away. And it had happened so many times that so even something at first glance, it's not a cliff where you kind of get that, height, you go, oh, that's or a fire where it's just the nerve endings are like, stop. There's like another level, which obviously isn't as immediately apparent as fire or a cliff or a thorn, but it's still there. They never saw it, and not one of them. There wasn't a wise mouse that had done research. It was just they looked at it and immediately get out, get out. Right? No one needed to teach me sexual attraction. Right? If I see a woman who is my type, it's just there. No one needs to teach it to me. Doesn't matter, right? And even though the current state of the world, which, on another side note, another solar rant, as we are approaching the book of Revelations in the in the end time, right? And they're trying to teach you not to be sexually tripped, but that's a whole it's a whole other thing. There is no thing about nuclear waste undergoing decay. I don't think I remember any of nuclear of anything in physics. Alpha decay, beta, our alpha plus two betas and a gamma ray and plus energy, and there is nothing to say get away from that. A nuclear bomb, sure, but that's back to the same thing as like fire. It's hot, get away. Nuclear, I don't know, fissile material giving off heat, but that's you're not aware of nuclear fissile material. You're aware of heat, right? Whether the heat came from a campfire or a decaying plutonium rod, you don't really know. It's heat, right? Don't touch it. If it was sharp like a blade, you wouldn't stay away from it because you're like, oh, that's strontium 90. No, it's sharp. So the idea of nuclear semiotics is other than cliff, fire, thorn, whatever, cold, hot, and not even epigenetically, right? I would imagine that you could probably take a human, separate them for X generations, and then show them, I don't know, a lion, right? Like if you ever look at a cat and you see it moving and its shoulder, you kind of see like the skin rippling over the shoulder. There's still something there, right? It's domesticated, but there's still something there where you're like predator, right? Even a dog. My brother has a huge dog, sweetest dog in the world. When it has a deep bark, you still kind of jump because it's like wolf, tiger, right? Nuclear semiotics is interesting because there's no basis for it. You don't know. Like Bob Lazar said on Rogan, when he's talking about cutting open we're potentially cutting open the reactor to a flying saucer. He's like, we have no idea what we're dealing with. He's like, if you dropped a nuclear reactor back in the 1700s, people started taking it apart. Within minutes, they'd all drop dead. And then someone else would walk into the room and be like, why are all these people dead? And within minutes, they'd drop dead because there's no basis for it. And there's no apparent simplified threat. It's a blade. It's the silhouette of a predator. It's hot. It's or those are those things. But the very concept of nuclear radiation, of radioactive death, doesn't exist. So there's something very interesting to me about nuclear semiotics. In a way, it's kind of similar to like the Voyager 2 spacecraft, right? Where I'm reading a UFO by Garrett Graff right now. And I mean, there's a million UFO books, but it is interesting because he's talking about kind of exploration of space and how one of the ideas was like we should build something out in the desert. First of all, it's like you build a giant obelisk, something that's unnatural, right? Perfectly cut corners. And then he's like around it, you could put things that clearly display the Pythagorean theorem or something. Like that's how you would express intelligence. Or Voyager 2 spacecraft, it's right. I think it's got like the golden ratio on it. It's got the like silhouette of the Homo sapien. I think it's got some music on it. It's got like a basic kind of location and structure of our solar system. But like it's fascinating because it's like, how do we boil down the most basic relaying of a message, right? I mean, if you were to go to an uncontacted tribe, you would probably both understand peace as like anything you're holding, you'd like lower it to the ground and drop, and you'd stand up and kind of like show your hands, right? That that's a basic symbol of like no harm. It's like you have to boil it down to the most simplified thing. What did Steve Jobs say about simplicity? Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It takes a lot of hard work to make something simple, to truly understand the underlying challenges and come up with elegant solutions. It's not just it's not just minimalism or the absence of clutter. It involves digging through the depth of complexity. To be truly simple, you have to go really deep. You have to deeply understand the essence of a product in order to be able to get rid of the parts that are not essential. So, like, that is kind of what nuclear semiotics are. And it's interesting. So it's like it's not that we're relaying it to 100 years from now. It's like total detached. Imagine I guess the best way to explain it would be imagine you're explaining it to an alien species that doesn't know what hawks are, doesn't know what, any of this stuff are. How would you explain it? Because it's not readily apparent. It's not a churning volcanic opening where you're like, we should probably stay away from that, right? You don't need to be an advanced species to see like magma coming out of the ground and being like, I'm back up. That's really hot. That's glowing. Rocks shouldn't be flowing like liquid. I'm not touching that. It's not on me, not today. Nuclear radiation, though, there's other than the heat, but by the time you're feeling the heat, I'm pretty sure you're dead. I think that's like near instantaneous or like same week death. But other things you wouldn't even notice, like just basic decay of strontium 90 or radioactive calcium. I don't think there's I don't think there's an understanding of that. I don't think there's anything that really shows that. Like you wouldn't know, right? It's like if you found out there was like, you know, some heavy metals in your drinking water. You might you might know after 50 years when I don't know, your kidney's all messed up. But this is tap water. It's just water. So you wouldn't necessarily know. So it's like, but it's so lethal. And not only that, if you get radiated, you become radioactive. You then, to my understanding, I don't know, I don't want to like bro science it. To my understanding, you'd be screwed too. If you went back to your, I don't know, your camp, you might infect them. And it's something that is there forever. It's not a fire it's gonna go out. Don't worry, it's gonna burn itself. It goes for 10,000 years, 100,000 years. So the idea is like a nuclear waste should be in something that, you know, you don't want it everywhere. You want it consolidated. Like I think that was in Utah. There's like a giant underground salt cave. How would you convey that to a distant generation? And so now I'm going to pull up some of the examples. And if you're banging your head against the wall, going, how come, Tommy, why are you talking about this? You don't know anything about it. Correct. I know nothing about this. So, but we're going to look at it. Long-term nuclear waste warning messages are communication attempts intended to deter human intrusion at nuclear waste repositories in the far future, within or above the order of magnitude of 10,000 years. Nuclear semiotics is an interdisciplinary field of research first done by the American Human Interference Task Force. Let's click on that. Let's just click on that, see what that thing is. Wait. I'm just reading this. You just look at my phone and it's just anime of Dick Cheney in a bikini. Like, Tony, what are you looking at? I'm like, it's nuclear semiotics. Don't tell anyone. In 1993 report from the Sandia National Laboratories recommended that such messages be constructed at several levels of complex. Ooh, that's cool. Several levels. I didn't know that. All right, I'm invested. They suggested the site should include foreboding physical features, which would immediately convey to future visitors that the site was both man-made and dangerous. Okay. As well as providing pictographic information, attempting to convey some details of the danger and written explanations for those able to read it. Hmm. A 1993 report from Sandia National Laboratories aimed to communicate a series of messages non-linguistically to any future visitors to a waste site. It gave the following wording as an example of what those messages should evoke. This place is a message and part of a system of messages. Pay attention to it. Sending this message was important to us. We consider ourselves to be a powerful culture. It's just Pepe. This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. Nothing valued is here. Okay. But this is cool. Nothing. So it's not like this is King Tut's, you know, Pharaoh chamber, the golden sarcophagus. I also kind of hope Paula just kills me today. I get little warnings on the gaming PC about like news or roads closed, and it's super high pollen today. And I actually went and stood on my porch. I'm on the fifth floor. And I was just this morning looking at it. It is just particularly beautiful. And I looked down and I saw all these like dogwood trees. What are like the white flowering trees? Like coming up to my balcony. I'm like, that might be the reason why I have splitting headaches. What is here was dangerous. So nothing is valued is here. Nothing valued is here. Who's somebody's knocking. There's nobody to take over. Guys, nuclear semiotics. Do something with it.
Keep on knocking, but you can't come in. You keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
So nothing valued is here. So it's not, yeah, it's not something awesome. It's not like in China, is it China, the Forbidden Kingdom? It's not like it's the US Capitol or like Arlington. What is here was dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger. The danger is in a. I haven't read any of this Wikipedia page, so I don't care if you guys are interested. I legitimately don't care. The danger is in a particular location. It increases towards a center. The center of danger is here, of a particular size and shape, and it's below us. This is cool. This places a message and part of a system of messages. Pay attention to it. Sending this message, so it's kind of like, halt government property, lethal force authorized. Sending this message was important to us. We considered ourselves to be a powerful culture. So, like, heed the warning. This place is not a place of honor. No highly esteemed deed is commemorated here. Nothing valued is here. What is here was dangerous and repulsive to us. This message is a warning about danger. The danger is in a particular location and increases towards a center. The center of danger is here, of a particular size and shape below us. The danger is still present in your time as it was in ours. It's almost kind of like Indian burial ground. What if Indian burial grounds are made over past societies' nuclear waste, and that's the whole curse? Maybe that's what haunted houses are. What if that's well, let's keep reading. The danger is still present in your time. The danger is to the body, and it can kill. The form of danger is an emanation of energy. It's not all right. The danger is unleashed only if you substantially disturb this place physically. This place is best shunned and left uninhabited. This sounds like a haunted house, doesn't it? This is not a place of honor. Nothing valued here. It's danger. It's dangerous. The danger is here, and it gets more dangerous the further you go in. It's still present. It can kill you. You should get out of here. This isn't anything wrong with you guys in particular. We don't hate y'all. Y'all should get out of here too. This is like a cursed land. This sounds like haunted houses. Let's pull up Indian burial grounds. Oh no, we'll keep reading this. The Sandia report further recommended that any such message should be comprised of 4 levels of increasing complexity. Let's go. Rudimentary information. Something man-made is here. Cautionary information. Something man-made is here, and it's dangerous. Basic information tells what, why, when, where, who, and how. Complex information. Highly detailed written records, tables, figures, graphs, maps, and diagrams. Let's see. The Indian National Laboratories. Come on now. Complex information, dangerous. Yeah, that's not fun. Highly detailed written record skills. That's all still assuming that you're gonna make it there. Written messages. Okay. Proposed design for small subsurface markers. This looks like little like metal plates to be buried randomly in great numbers. So it looks like it's like a human face. And then it's got the radioactive arrow pointing down. Since today's written language are yeah. The West Isolation Pilot Plan has done extensive research in development or written or pictorial messages to warn future generations. Since today's written languages are unlikely to survive, the research team has considered pictograms and hostile architecture. Let's click on that. Texts were proposed to be translated to every UN written language. In 1994, level 2, 3 forward messages in English were translated into French, Spanish, Chinese, blah, blah, blah. It's for at the waste. Designed for an information center at the waste isolation plant. So almost like a Georgia Guidestone type thing. Conceptual design for the information center, blah, 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 to gain level 4 messages. So that's the plans include suggestions. That's like the highly detailed thing. Once you got past all the others, the plans included suggestions that the building be designed so as to create a dissonant and mournful whistling sound. Whoa. Whoa. The plans included a suggestion that the building be designed so as to create a dissonant and mournful whistling sound when wind blew through it. Whoa. Dude, what are those pyramids in like South America that if you clap, it goes up and comes back down and it sounds like a bird and they're like, it's the bird god? What if it's not that? What if you're like not supposed to be near those? Like when you watch an EOD suit, like Hurt Locker, going up to like a bomb and you feel that feeling. If you didn't know anything about bombs, you might just walk up to an artillery shell and be like, what is that? Why is there a phone strapped to it? But anyone that knew about, ordnance disposal would look at it and be like, get away from there, get away from. What if that's what those pyramids are? Whoa. What about the Great Pyramids? Don't the stars align on those? Oh man. Ooh, that's creeping me out. Indian burial grounds, right? You're gonna be cursed if you go there. You might say, but there's no radiation there. Yeah, well, radiation's something we understand. What if there's something we don't understand? Ooh, I don't like that. So an idea I was throwing around in the game stream the other day was Göbekli Tepe, right? It's that like ancient site that was buried in pristine condition. It's not like the earth swallowed it up and, millennia or millions of years of like dust deposition slowly kind of blocked it away. It was like built purposefully in a pit and then buried up immediately in pristine condition. What if that's oh. What would the opposite of nuclear semiotics be? How do you pull them in? Aren't those like Aztec pyramids? Those you see the videos on YouTube, they got 100 million views. It's where you clap and the sound goes up the stairs and comes back down and as like a whistling shot. The Great Pyramids, the stars, Orion's belt like lines up over them. Göbekli Tepe as people like, what is this? Let's go figure it out. What if these are the opposite of nuclear semiotics? What if these are meant to pull you in? And is it a good pulling in or is it a bad pulling in? Is it like is it like a church where there's a towering steeple and beautiful stained glass windows and it's Mother Mary or Jesus, opening their arms and it's like, come in, my child, like you have refuge. Or is it like an anglerfish that puts out a little shiny thing and you go up to it and then the jaws of death eat you? Oh, that's creeping me out. That is creeping me out. Dude. What if these are meant to pull these are like what if these are lures? What if these are like bear traps? What if this is like a mouse trap? Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this episode anymore. I don't want to do this. Ooh. Yeah, right. Because none of these things, pyramids, none of these things drive you away. None of these things say get away. Dark caverns with stalactites and stalagmites, and they're dark and dewy. Those kind of say get away, right? The top of Mount Everest, you can't even breathe. That's kind of like stay away. All this other stuff is like come in. So Indian burial ground seems more like nuclear semiotics, like stay away from this. But like Göbekli Tepe or like the Sphinx. Oh, that resonant whistling sound that immediately made what's the thing called? Oh man, I don't like this is creeping me out. Working as hold on, what's the name of the I'm gonna look at the name of the pyramid so y'all can pyramid whistling clap acoustics at Chichen Itza. Uh, let's see.
This is a simple echo. Actually, it's very simple to explain. You grab in front slope, the sound will go to the top. In this case, a pyramid. And if it's there a cavity or a temple, in this case, the echo will come back to you. If you clap in front of an Egyptian pyramid, nothing happens because the sound goes away. So here, sound comes back. Why it sounds like a bird? Don't ask me that because we don't know. But this is really impressive. Experts from different countries, experts in acoustics, have come here to study, to try to know how this is possible. They leave the country. It's like it works all 4 times the time. Used to be, now only two. Yeah, the north and the west. You see?
Bro. Uh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all, man. Hostile architecture, like anti-home with spikes. Okay. So that's because that drives you away. Hostile architecture drives you away. It's like when they put spikes under an overpass so homeless people don't like that's okay. So that's hostile, right? That's like an Indiana Jones temple, right? Where there's tons of traps and ancient Home Alone stuff. But that's not so that's what that keeps you away. Something like Göbekli, that's like inviting you in. It's like this is so mysterious. The pyramids, that Aztec, Mayan, whatever temple, that lures you in. Göbekli Tepe kind of lures you in, and it's like stay around longer. So what are they doing temporally? You go and clap at that pyramid. I don't know. It's trying to like make awareness. It's trying to get you and other people to come there and watch. It's like putting out feed for a deer. Göbekli Tepe is different because it's almost like stay around here longer. Keep digging. Keep following the little pieces of cheese up into the mousetrap. Ooh. Death Valley, Mount Everest, that's all stay away. That's get away. Get out. Indian burial ground cursed. It's scary. Stay away. Right? Creepy forests or swamps. That's get away. It's scary. But what about the stuff that's like, come on in? And I don't mean like Hawaii, where it's like the weather's good. Some things are just nice, right? And it also doesn't mean that every cold area is, a place for nuclear radiation. It might just be cold in the winter. Like, I get that. Oh, but what things are like inviting, right? It means 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? They dig up the obelisk or the monolith, and then it like what? Doesn't it shoot a message to the moon, or is the first one they find on the moon? And then they go and mess with that, and they find out that it was shooting a message out to like a moon of Saturn or something. And then that's the wormhole. My God, it's full of stars. Now, am I looking at the wrong way? Does it have to be a negative? Does it have to be evil? It doesn't have to be, I suppose. It doesn't have to be the anglerfish. It doesn't have to be a mousetrap. You know, it could be like, I don't know, if you're trying to catch like a stray cat or stray dog, it doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to kill it and eat it. It might be like this animal is scared and it needs help, but it's going to run away if we come near it. So I don't know, maybe put out food and water and leave a door open to like a warm area, and it might want to come in and slowly start to trust you. And then I don't know, you can give it dewormer and take out the intestinal worms they get. I guess that's fair. It doesn't have to be evil. So yeah, I mean, maybe we don't need to be have an existential crisis right now. Maybe we can look at it. Maybe we can look at it and say, maybe it's maybe it's putting food out in your. Maybe it's when you just put your hand out to a dog and a dog's kind of skittish, right? You just put your hand out, let him come sniff you. You don't try to grab him or anything. You just come, come smelling. All right. Hmm. Yeah, what would be the opposite of nuclear semiotics? How to pull someone or something in. Yeah, that would be the exact opposite of nuclear semiotics. So hold on, let's go back to like the basic. What was it? The four rules. Four rudimentary information. Something man-made is here. So I guess that would still be the same. You could say something man-made is here. Cautionary. Something man-made is here and it is dangerous. You could maybe something man-made is here and it is, I don't know, helpful. Basic information. What, why, when, where, how, who. The Great Pyramids, doesn't that show like the precession of the equinox or like the whatever, where the earth wobbles every 36,500 years? Complex information, highly detailed written records, tables, figures, graphs, maps, and diagrams. That would maybe be like the Pharaoh's chamber or something, like the king's chamber. Because aren't there all sorts of weird things with the Great Pyramid? Aren't they also like perfectly aligned north south and like the bricks they have? Yeah, because there's all sorts of weird like Graham Hancock esque where it's like 500-ton rocks slid together with an opening of a credit card only that you could be able to slip through. Written messages. So those would all be things to kind of lure you in, right? Something man-made is here, the Great Pyramids. Would be the opposite. You'd say this is a place of great honor, right? There are good things buried here. Maybe it's not even like yeah, maybe it's not evil. And maybe it's not even necessarily good. Like, come put your hand on the stone and then the aliens will come down and give you free energy or something. It might not even be that. It might be from an extinct civilization. And it might just be the equivalent of like I've always wondered if you went back in time, what's the one thing you would bring? And I think you'd bring a physics textbook. Not history, because that's all, it doesn't matter. They'll create their own. But you want to bring back physics, right? You want to bring back just calculations, gravitational constants, math, and then that would accelerate that civilization more than any other one thing. You wouldn't bring back an iPhone or a car. You'd bring back like a physics and maybe like a physician's desk reference, right? So maybe that's all that they are is like it's like what's it called? It's like the survival rations for pilots in World War II. It's Steve MRE 1989 makes them on YouTube. Where it's not just food. It's like a lighter. There's like a reflective piece of plastic so you can like flash other planes coming by. There are flares. There's like iodine. There's like, to treat poisons. There's simple bandages. There are matches, a blade, um, and then food and, basic food. What if it's something like that? What if it's like a crash survival kit for mankind, right? If you're in a position where you're opening that survival kit, it ain't great, right? Your basic situation isn't fantastic, but it's a lot better to have that. I think some of them were like even provided like paper and stuff, and it was like keep track. I don't know if it's for like mental sanity. like that's what you would do. Right, because there's COG, continuity of government, which is kind of the nuclear bunkers, and there's continuity of operations, which seems pretty similar, but it's like I guess how to. I think COG seems more like the physical infrastructure of how to keep the government going. Uh, Continuity of operations seems more like I don't know, like the life flow of it. And then the one thing I can't find anything on is ECG, enduring constitutional government. Garrett Graff mentions it passing in his book Raven Rock, probably my favorite book of all time. And I had Ron Moeller on here, who at one point was involved, I think, in like nuclear targeting, and he'd been in Raven Rock. And I remember I brought up ECG, and he kind of did like a double take, and I was like, "Is there a book? It's not. I'm not a rat. I'm not a mole." And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, by the time you're enacting ECG, he's basically like you're basically described it as like, yeah, you're putting out like plastic tarps to catch rainwater, and you're shooting zombies. Basically, it's like the end, right? It's not even like the perpetuation of the U.S. government in the phase of nuclear war. It seems like that's more of like, how do you keep basic human survival going? And I've often thought about how would you do that? And I thought you would do like I thought you'd put up like, I don't know, 10,000 layers of satellites that could survive reentry. I don't know, make them out of diamond or something. And what you would do is you would have basic things like physics, the physician's desk reference, mathematics as we know it, maybe a map of the world. And I thought what you would do is you'd have decaying orbits so that they would come smash into the earth every 1,000 years or something. And if you had and it's because if it's if it's in orbit, there's nothing touching it. You can calculate it down to like the hour, even 50,000 years in the future. It's nothing as long as nothing's interacting with it, an asteroid or something. And I always imagined that's how you would do it. Is you'd have decaying orbits. So if you had 1,000 levels of them every 1,000 years, you could cover like a 1,000,000 year spot of time. And then they would last forever too. So you could find them, 1 billion years later. And I think you'd want them to crash not into the ocean. And then you would calculate tectonic drift, which I don't think would be a whole lot in 1,000,000 years. And you'd probably want them to crash on different areas of the globe, different I don't know, different continents, in hopes of jump starting future civilization. So I guess it's like, what is the opposite of nuclear semiotics? And maybe that's too complex. It's like decaying, or maybe you want something even just simpler, like just a rock on the ground. That would be pyramids or something. So I don't know. Not really sure. I feel like I'm a little more confused now than I was. Landscape of thorns, a spike field, spikes bursting. Those are the menacing earthworks, a black hole, rubble landscape, foreboding, forbidding blocks. Stop it. Yeah. I don't know. I do have a doctor's appointment I got to get to, and then I have 2 more shows after this, so got to wrap this one up. Guys, much love. Thanks for listening to my ramblings, and till the next solo rant. Take care, everybody. God bless. Peace.